Hey everyone, I'm Grant and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be dissecting the front end of my diesel swap TJ Wrangler because I want to replace the intercooler that's in my front grille. In my last video I showed off this one. I think this one's going to work a lot better, but I'll go into details about it once I have both intercoolers side by side. But with that said, I'm going to turn on time lapse and get to work. I start out by removing both headlights because I need access through the holes in the grille to undo all the fasteners holding the radiator to the front grille. With the radiator no longer in my way, it was a simple task of just undoing all the hardware holding the intercooler in place to get it out of the front grille. I have the old intercooler out next to the new one. I want to do a couple of measurements. The first thing I noticed is this has to be half the weight of this intercooler, maybe less. So a couple of quick measurements. If you look at the height of the actual intercooler section of this intercooler, we're coming in right around 6 inches. We come over here to this one and it's 7 inches. So we have another inch of cooling capacity, which is pretty nice. But the one I'm interested in is this intercooler here is 3.5 inches deep, which you kind of have to have because it's a 2.5 inch inlet and outlet. Now we'll come over to this intercooler, and this intercooler is a whopping 2.25 inches deep. It's 1.25 inches thinner than this intercooler, which is really fascinating. The other thing is to consider the end tanks. Now on the very bottom, I would say these end tanks are right at 2 inches. I come over to this end tank, it's also 2 inches. But if you come over to this side, the end tank is just over 3.5 inches on each side. So this was blocking a lot of airflow into my radiator. The other thing is because of how thick the core was, the air had to work harder to be pushed through it. Now at high enough speeds, basically highway and interstate speeds, that kind of doesn't matter. But going low speeds around town, that's where I was noticing my entire setup running a little bit hotter. The other big difference is on this intercooler, it mounts on the top and bottom. On the new intercooler, I have one mounting pad on each side. And I already kind of have 2 perfect mounting spots on my grill that I'm hoping to reuse, so that shouldn't be an issue. But I just can't get over just how heavy this thing is. But part of it I'm noticing is these end tanks on this one are cast, and the end tanks on this intercooler are not. It's actually just bent aluminum. So that probably accounts for some of the weight difference. But yeah, so I'm going to set time lapse back up and I'm going to work on figuring out if I can figure out a good way to mount this into my front grille. I ended up being really lucky with how well everything lined up. The mounting pads on the new intercooler almost perfectly lined up with the 2 holes that were already drilled into the backside of my front grille. The one mistake I kind of made was not double checking the relationship of the mounting brackets to where the existing boost piping was. Hey everyone, I'm back. It's the next day. I've really thought about the situation going on with my intercooler, and I've decided on one of 2 things. The first thing I'm going to try is just re-drilling the holes where it bolts to the grill and try dropping the intercooler, because right now I don't line up for any of the boost piping. If I can get away with re-drilling it, that's going to be the quickest and easiest way of doing it. If that doesn't work, I have enough spare metal here that I can remake the mounts and it won't take all that long. So because I've already done all of this before somewhat, I'm not going to film this next part. I'm going to just re-drill the mounts and I'll report back. I guess this time-lapse segment is me reporting back. Drilling the brackets ended up working perfectly, so I went ahead and reassembled the rest of the system minus putting in the headlights just so I could fire up the Wrangler and check for any boost leaks. I have everything bolted back together. The radiator's mounted, the AC condenser, even though I don't have AC set up, I wanted the AC condenser installed so when I eventually do have AC, I know nothing's going to be in the way of it. But everything's bolted back on and everything seems to be fitting really well. The really interesting thing is not the bottom, but the top of the AC condenser and my radiator are now flush with the grill again. I actually had it spaced out almost an inch from top to bottom. Now the top is flush, the middle ones are off by maybe 1/4 of an inch, and the bottom one is now off by maybe 1/2 an inch. So if you think about it, if this is stock, my radiator is now like just barely like this. It's a slight lean, but with that said, let me go open the garage door and I'll report back. That sounds different.
I want to give a quick update. If it sounds like I'm yelling, it's because I have my air posse, so I don't want to damage my hearing. But I finally have the system led again in terms of cooling. I'm going to flip the camera around so I can show you what I mean. That's how I know that the system's flowing properly. When I see a stream coming out like that, it means there's no air bubbles in the system. Also, a ton of heat is coming off the fan as well. If we come inside, we can see that we're hovering. Oh wow, it's still losing temperature. That's amazing. But yeah, everything's looking good. We're at around 1 pound to boost. We are right at 300 degrees on our EGTs, and we're holding almost 2,000 RPM. And actually, now that's bled, take my stick out. Now we're down to 700 RPM. Our EGT should start dropping. Same with our coolant. I don't know if it's just I haven't heard it run in a while, but it does sound different. And it doesn't seem like the engine is vibrating nearly as much with the new intercooler, which is a good thing. Oh, let me put on that. Yeah, she sounds really good. Give it a rev. It's building way more boost than it used to. It's almost hitting 5 psi, just giving that quick rev. Which I think is a good thing. I think that means there was a restriction in my previous intercooler. All right, I have the camera pointed in the right spot. One thing I did notice while I was waiting for the system to bleed and everything, I am going to have to modify this bracket here. The intercooler is too close to the grill itself. It's actually touching here and right here and right here. On this side, I have plenty of clearance, so I'm just going to remove the bracket and drill out the holes so I can push the intercooler in a little bit, because I have plenty of space between the intercooler and the AC condenser. The following evening, I did take the bracket off and re-drill the holes on both brackets on both sides of the intercooler so I could space the intercooler away from the front grill a little bit to ensure when it was vibrating going down the road, the intercooler wasn't going to hit anything. With the modifications made to both brackets, it was a simple process of just reinstalling the brackets and then reinstalling both headlights. And at that point, the Wrangler was back together. Decided to go with the half door because I still have no air conditioning. If I had to guess, somewhere in the 80s today here. Knowing my luck, I'll get back home and it'll be like 78. Now, one of the changes I got my tuner to make is when it is cold and not up to temperature, it idles at 1,000 RPM, which means the bump is back. And I did that because when it was idling at 700 RPM, when the engine was completely cold, it sounded bad. So as the temperature rises, the idle comes down, like a normal car, which is really nice. Now I need to pay attention to the boost gauge. Well, boost, EGTs, all of it. Coolant, actually. See what this sucker does. This is making way more boost
it seems quieter. I mean, I might be going crazy, but I have so much more power now with significantly less throttle. I can hear the tires. I've never heard these tires before. The other weird thing is, we haven't even hit 600 degrees on my EGTs yet. Quite frankly, we're cruising 500. And it's a warm day. I think my other intercooler was causing a restriction. The other weird thing is we're now cruising at like 7 to 8 pounds of boost, where before I think I was cruising closer to like 4 to 6. I mean, not a huge difference, but a difference. Measurable difference is what I should say. I am so confused right now. I went to the other intercooler because I thought there might be a restriction. So far, the results have been we're running cooler, EGTs are lower, I'm seeing more boost everywhere in the rev range, and it's quieter. So, a couple observations. This intercooler is quieter. It does not have the cooling capacity of the old intercooler. I just saw over 1,000 degrees for the first time ever. And actually, we almost hit 1,200, but I was flooring it. So now I have to keep an eye on my EGT gauge if I'm really in it. I'm more impressed with how much quieter it is. Which is something that was going to be an upcoming video. I was actually going to, well, I still am. I'm going to install a resonator on the exhaust, and I might switch mufflers as well. Because I'd rather not have to wear ear protection to drive this. Oh, this is so much nicer to drive. I can't remember the last time I enjoyed driving this without AirPods in ears. That's all I have for this video. I am thrilled with how changing the intercooler has transformed this entire swap. I really was just trying to free up a restriction, but it reducing how loud this swap is was not something I was expecting. The other thing I want to do, because I was noticing this during my test drives, in my next video, I think we're going to do some fuel economy testing again, because I actually think this is getting way better fuel economy now that it doesn't have a restriction in the intercooler. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you sometime soon. Goodbye.